Hey everyone, it's Chrissy. So today I'm doing a storytime video. It's more of like one of the paranormal storytime videos. So yeah, let's get right to it. So this story takes place when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I was living in Florida at the time, and I was over at my grandfather's house. Me and my whole family, we were over there, and so all the grown-ups were out in the garage, and it was just me, my uncle, and my aunt. Now my uncle and my aunt are younger than me, due to my grandfather getting remarried and having kids again. So me, my uncle, and my aunt, we were out in the living room. So like how the house was set up is when you walk in the front door, like to the left, the garage door is there, and then like a little bit more in the living room is right there, and off to the right there's a hallway, and you can enter into the kitchen through that hall. And then on the, like when you're facing inside the hallway, on the right hand side there's two bedrooms. The first bedroom on the right hand side is my aunt's room, and the second room, which is all the way at the back, is my uncle's room, and then across from my uncle's room is my grandfather's room. And that's the only room on that side of the hall. So me, my aunt, and my uncle, we were doing what every kid does. We were playing in the living room. And so I was facing the hall for some odd reason, and I was just playing with dolls or whatever kind of toys we were playing with. I can't really remember that. And I just look at the end of the hall between my uncle's and my grandfather's room. And again, mind you, all the adults, all the grown-ups, and even my brother and sister who were older than me were out in the garage. They were all just hanging out, talking, while we were in the living room playing. And my grandfather has two dogs, or had two dogs, or a dog at the time, now has two. The one that was then started barking, and it was really, we thought it was just for outside, because for the backyard, they have a sliding glass door so they could see out of it. And so we were like, okay, we just thought he was just barking at something outside. Again, I was like 5, so we don't think much of it. So I look down at the end of the hall, and there's like this black figure, like shadow figure, like it made out like the silhouette of a man. And this scared the hell out of me because, again, I'm 5 years old. So I'm just staring down there. And my aunt, who was, I think, 4, if I was 5, yeah, she was 4 at the time, walks over to me and then looks down the hall. And the figure starts walking towards us, and we freak the hell out. So we start screaming. She's screaming for her dad. I'm screaming for my dad. And so everybody comes running in from the garage. Like, the garage door was closed, so we know it wasn't a shadow of them, like any of the adults out there. So they come running in, and the figure just disappears. Like, this really scared me, considering I was 5 years old. It really scared me. Like, I was a kid. I wasn't gonna believe in anything paranormal until that. So everybody can say, oh, it was just a figment of your imagination, whatever. No, it was not. Because now that I'm older, I'm 20 years old, when I was last at my grandfather's house, which was probably a little over a year ago, I had asked him, or I had mentioned this to him, even mentioned it to his wife. And she even said she has seen the same freaking thing. And I'm like, well, did something happen in the house before you guys moved in? Stuff like that. And she said, no, nothing happened. So I was like, okay, this is just really freaking weird. So I mentioned it to my grandfather, and he said the same thing, nothing happened, but he's seen the same figure. And so one night I stayed over at my grandfather's house, so I was in my aunt's room with her, and so we're like laying to her head is by my feet and my head is by her feet, and it had to have been like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning at the latest, and I was 16 at the time, so she was 15, and we heard at the same time, because we sat up at the same time facing each other, we heard a man's voice say stop, like very, very stern. It was very deep. So we both sat up, like we at the same time both woke up and sat up at the same time. And it kind of scared me a little bit, because I was like, weird. Like, my grandfather is usually up about 6, but he's usually like in the garage smoking his cigarettes and just chilling in the garage. Meanwhile, my step grandmother, she'd be asleep. My uncle would just be in his room either sleeping or playing video games. And so I was like, okay, I could not go back to sleep after that. So my aunt fell back asleep. Don't know how. So I walked out quietly, shut the door and everything, and I walked into the kitchen and saw my grandfather in the kitchen making a pot of coffee. So I said, did you yell at the dogs to stop? He said, no, why? I said, well, me and I'm going to call my aunt Sally. So I said, me and Sally just woke up at the same time, and she said, we both had said to each other, did you hear that? And we explained what we heard to each other. It was the same thing. And I told him, I said, it was like a man sternly saying stop. So we didn't think nothing of it. We thought it was just her dad. So I even told him that, and he was like, no, the dogs are outside. And I was like, well, why would we have heard that if the dogs are outside and you're inside? And he's like, I don't know, there's not really an explanation for that. And I was like, okay. It was really weird, but I thought nothing of it, really. And then another time I had stayed at his house. I honestly think my grandfather's house is haunted. That's just me. I have never said anything to my mom about it, but I probably should mention it to her to see if anything's happened when she was younger and living there and living with her father or whatever. I'm gonna actually mention that to her. But another time that I had stayed at his house, I was probably 17. Yeah, I was 17. Either 17 or 18. And I was staying there for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I was 18. So it was 2 years ago. I was staying at their house for 2 weeks until my mom went down to Florida to come and pick me up and bring me to North Carolina. So I was in the living room. I didn't really stay in my aunt's room. I was in the living room, and after everything's happened, I really couldn't sleep, and on top of that, I have insomnia. So it's hard for me to sleep regardless. So the AC turned on, so I had to turn it off. So where was I? So one night when I was staying there, I was just watching TV, so, and again, I was in the living room, so I think I was just, watching whatever was on late at night. So I think maybe I was watching, Adult Swim, so I was watching, maybe Family Guy or something, and I hear something in the kitchen. So I'm like, okay, I get up to check it out, and it's just my step-grandma. I don't even call her grandma. I call her by her name, which she doesn't mind because I'm respectful towards her. So anyways, I walk in there and I was like, okay, it's just you. She's like, what do you mean it's just you? I said, well, because earlier I thought I heard something and all the cabinets were open. She's like, well, I've been either in the garage or in the room. So I was like, it was weird. So I didn't really sleep much that night. And at 3:30 in the morning, their house phone started ringing. So if you guys don't know, 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. is the witching hour, devil's hour, as you like to call it. So all like weird stuff can happen between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm a firm believer of things paranormal at this point, so it was really weird. So the phone started ringing it was like 3:30 in the morning, 3:35, and I'm not one to answer other people's house phones or phones at all, unless they ask me to. So my step-grandma comes out of her room, and I can see her because how the couch, how the couch was, they had a couch and then 2 recliners, like, side by side, and I was laying in the recliner because it was more comfortable than the couch. And so I see her come out of the room, and she's, like, not really half asleep, like, she's, like, wide awake, and she goes into the kitchen where the house phone is set and answered. She's like, hello, like, I can hear you, and just hung up the phone. It was really weird. I said, who was it? She was like, I don't know, they didn't say or anything like that. So she was like, I'm gonna go out into the garage, do you want to come with me? So I said, yeah, sure. So we went out to the garage, and she started to smoke, and I was just sitting on the chair that's opposite of her, just drinking a bottle of water, and the garage door, like the door to go in the house, opened a little bit, and we just thought one of the dogs had came into the garage. But nope, the door just opened. We thought maybe they had nudged it. No, the dogs were asleep on the freaking couch. I'm like, what? Sorry, my mom's cat is just looking at me. So we were like, what the hell? Like, it was really weird. So we shut the door. We just shut the door. And we just sat there. We just continued talking about whatever we were talking about and anything like that. The door opens again, and this time my uncle comes into the garage, and he's usually up at that time anyway, so it was probably about 4 o'clock in the morning. He's usually up at that time anyways because he plays video games on, like, his computer or whatever. And he was like, Mom, did you come try to wake me up or something? And she's like, no, why? And he was like, because the door opened and I heard a woman say my name, and I was like really freaked out. And so was she, to be honest. And she's like, no, I didn't come into your room or anything. I just came out here with Chrissy, and that was it. So he just brushed it off and walked back to his room, shutting the door. So we're like, okay, so we decided we were going to go inside. So we shut the light off, and we go inside, and we're sitting in the living room. So mind you, there's the couch and the 2 recliners. There's also a little room that is, like, beside the living room. So, like, when you go into the living room, there's a door over there on the wall. You walk in, it's my grandfather's study. So we sit on the couch, and we are watching, again, whatever was on TV. And it was about 4:15 at this time. So we weren't on Adult Swim. We were watching something else. And we were watching a movie, actually. And we hear that door open. I'm like, is Grandpa awake? And she said, no, he's in the room asleep. So it was really weird. And sometimes that door does creak open by itself, but he usually locks it. The door was not locked or anything. It was just weird. I don't know. I couldn't really explain that. Neither can she. So, like, every time I go to my grandfather's house, I'm a little sketched out because, I mean, yes, it's also like an older house. Like, I don't know. It's a bit of an older house. So, I mean, yeah, you'll hear things creak. So I mean, I don't really know how to explain anything that happens in that house. But to me, I think it's haunted. I mean, I don't know what they believe. Because I know my step grandma, she believes in the whole paranormal type of thing, like I do. And so I don't know. We just couldn't explain it at all. So it was a really weird thing for me, not for us, but for me. Ever since I was 5, I was seeing things in that house, hearing things. So I don't know. I mean, it could be just me. I don't know. So anyways, that is it for this storytime video. Give this video a big thumbs up. Comment down below if you've had any paranormal experience yourself. Subscribe to my channel. Click on the little bell to turn on the post notifications so you never miss when I upload. And yeah.